Now I'd like to show you how to use the Sew Easy guide to sew small squares onto large squares to make connecting corners, and it's also used to make flying geese units. We simply take the small square, place it in the corner of the larger square. We want to sew from this corner to this corner, and we're going to use the solid black line on the Sew Easy guide. We put the needle at the corner, actually slightly off the corner. If you can see that this guideline here is just a little bit in from the edge of this fabric square, but this guideline over here is right on the raw edge of the fabric square. And then I make sure that the solid line on the guide is just slightly off the exact corner of the square. And now I'm going to sew across this square. Always watching down here, watching the line, making sure it's just slightly off the corner of the fabric square. And the reason it has to be slightly off the corner of the fabric square is because this fabric has thickness, and you need to allow for that so that when the fabric is turned to the corner, it reaches all the way out to the corner and does not end up falling short. You use this same technique when making the flying geese unit, although now you're sewing the square onto a rectangle. Okay, I've put the smaller square on top of the rectangle, right sides together, and I've got the solid black line slightly off the square's corners. As I sew, I'm looking down here at the guide's line. And the first half of the flying geese unit is done. And then the second half is adding another square at the other corner, at the other end, and again just simply guiding the solid line on the guide slightly off the corner of the fabric square. And there you have your flying geese unit. Another way to use this sewing a square on top of a square is actually sewing two strips together for binding. And to do that, you would put the two binding strips right sides together at right angles and sew diagonally like this. Now, because the top piece of fabric is not a square, we do need to mark a little mark here on the top piece to show where the corner is if this was a square. Now I've got two reference points, two corners to guide the line on. And again, I'm guiding the line slightly off the corners to allow for turn of the cloth. And there you have a nice diagonal seam join for your binding strips. And that's how to sew diagonally across the square.